Someday the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers, the wall of power will fall. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. Wishing you a very happy new year. 2022 has got to be better than 2021, right? I think we can all agree that it better be. Got a great guest on tonight. There's a band that's been around for close to a decade called Art Vandelay. We have the leader of the band, Brandon Henry, with us here tonight. They've got a CD release show coming up at the Astor Cafe on January 22nd. So I would like to welcome my guest, Brandon Henry from Art Vandelay, to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. Brandon, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year, Paul.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, and it's strange to hear that we've been around for about a decade. It feels like we just kind of started.
Well, in this, the last record you guys released was called Heaven's Opera House, and that came out 9 years ago.
Yeah, actually, it was 10 years ago on this past Monday that it came out. So it's been around for a while. Yeah, and that time just went, I don't know where it went.
And we don't even need to know where it went. The main thing is we've got Brandon Henry from Art Vandelay with us tonight talking about his new record, Champagne and Chandeliers. Let's talk a little bit about where Brandon Henry came from and how you ended up in Minnesota and then Minneapolis and the beginnings of Art Vandelay.
Yeah, so I went to school up here at St. Olaf College down in Northfield. And after I graduated, I just kind of stayed and hung out in the Twin Cities. And every year I was here, I just enjoyed it more and more. So I've been up here permanently since 2002. And probably in about, I really wanted to get into playing music out live. I've been playing guitar for a long time. And started playing with a group called Nothing of Consequence. And I was with them for about a year playing bass, and I had a handful of my own songs. And so I started playing out solo by myself and took on the name Art Vandelay as just kind of a fun little stage name. And it just kind of morphed from there. I ended up recruiting the drummer from Nothing of Consequence, Calvin Kiesling, and he and I had gone to school together, but we didn't know each other in college. And then we just kept playing as a duo for a long time, and Ben Cook Phelps, whom I went to McNally Smith with in mid-2000s, he and I had shared a couple bills, and he joined in on a few songs here and there, and eventually just came on full-time. So the three of us played around for a number of years, and then I'd say probably about 2014, we were playing a gig with a band called Matt Inkla and the Hostages, and their bass player, Drew Stevenson, he came up to us after the show, and he was like, "Hey, I see you don't have a bass player. Do you want one?" And so he joined our band as a bass player, and he used to be Calvin's college roommate, so it all kind of came full circle, and we've been playing in different formations over the years since about 2007, so that's kind of the formation of the band. And Champagne and Chandeliers is the first album that we recorded in a studio, and it encompasses all of the band members. The first two albums, Dancing with Your Demons and Heaven's Opera House, we did in basements and apartments, and it was mostly just me, Calvin, and Ben on that one. But for Champagne and Chandeliers, we had everybody, and we even recruited Rich Rue from Nikki and the Roommates and Row Family Singers, and then Colin Monette, who's a local guitar player around town. he's played with us off and on over the years too. And so we got everybody in on the record, and it was a lot of fun to hear what other musicians added to the songs.
Well, and for those of out there in the Wall of Power Radio, our listening audience who watch Seinfeld, the name Art Vandelay is familiar because George Costanza, I think when he was faking his work resume at one time, said he worked for Art Vandelay Industries as an architect. And oddly enough, the song we're going to hear at the end of this segment is called Architects, where the line champagne and chandeliers came from. So tell us what night you guys were sitting around somebody's living room around the bong and you came up with that name.
That's when I was in that very first band, Nothing of Consequence, we were trying to come up with a band name, and I suggested Art Vandelay, and nobody wanted it, so we just kind of scrapped it and moved on. So then when I decided to go out and do stuff solo on my own, I was just like, oh, well, I'll take on that name. And, I was a fan of the show, and I just kind of thought it was funny. We've just kind of kept it over the years. And every time I think about changing it in some way, I talk to someone, and they're just like, I love that name. And so then I've just kept it. And so I think it's here to stay.
Well, and it's spelled, if you do any Googling on the Seinfeld stuff, the way you spell Vandelay is Vandalay. They have an E in there after the D. So is your website for the band artvandelaytunes.com?
Correct. That's where you can get all of our music and read more about us and see our schedule and everything.
I read enough about you to know that this record was actually set for release a couple of years ago. And now it's actually having its formal release at the Astor Cafe, which we love. Our buddy Jeff Arundel has a great listening room over there right on the Mississippi River. So tell us, was it all just kind of pandemic delay like we've all gone through?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah. So it was recorded in the spring of 2019 at Future Condo Studios in South Minneapolis. And the plan was to record it, and then at that time, myself and another band member, we were each expecting kids. And so we were going to have a good chunk of time to, start to learn to become parents and everything. And then in 2020, spring or summer of 2020, put it out and move on from there. Well, as with everything, it just kind of, those plans went out the window. And so we spent a year, I kind of just spent a year on really working on the design and trying to think of ways to market it and, really overthinking everything.
Sure.
But then as, last year in the spring, as things were kind of starting to look more optimistic, we kind of pulled the trigger on okay, let's put it out and just kind of do stuff over the summer. And so we played a few shows over the summer to promote it. It came out officially in August. And then, so now this show at the Astor on the 22nd is a big celebration of the album, and we've got Jay Bell and the Lazy Susan Band joining us on the bill, and they're a super fun Americana band. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a fun show.
Cool. Well, the song we're going to listen to, Brandon, off Champagne and Chandeliers, is a song called Architects. And when we did a little pre-interview earlier this week, I thought maybe you were using that because Art Vandelay or whatever persona George Costanza thought he was going to be was an architect. And then you said that actually occurred to you after you wrote the song. So tell us a little bit about the song that we're going to listen to first off here in the Wall of Power Radio Hour by the Art Vandelay Ensemble called Architects. Tell us a little bit about that song.
Yeah, so this song, I wrote it quite a while ago, and it's actually about I'm doing air quotes right now, the conclusion of the Iraq War. And I was thinking about the architects and people behind it, and you could probably apply it to other conflicts that we've been involved in, but just that there are people who like kind of design these and like work on how to conduct these wars for one reason or another. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and architects is kind of just how it came out. And the line champagne and chandeliers doesn't really mean anything. It's just, I thought it was a cool sounding phrase, and so that was
Sure.
kind of the launch of the song, and it just kind of went from there.
Well, let's listen to Architects by Art Vandelay, and we'll send this one off to wherever he's burning in the afterlife, to Don Rumsfeld. Architects by Art Vandelay, and we'll have Brandon Henry on for the whole show tonight on the Wall of Power Radio Hour.
Champagne and chandeliers swinging from the sinking ship. All the thieves and the captains hold their tightening their grip. White knuckles on the wheels and blindfolds over their eyes. Ain't nobody in the right frame of mind gonna drive at night like that. Spin the pirouettes, build the castles of iron and glass to draw lines in the sand. You're either on the right side or the wrong, either weak or you're strong. Which side do you fall? Blood on the tracks, smoke crawling over the trees, ain't a trace of a body or a clue at the scene. Where the architects place the twisted bets, build the wars with ironwood to see which side to stand. You're either on the right side or the wrong, either weak or you're strong.
Welcome back to the second set of the Wall of Power Radio Hour, first show of 2022. We have Brandon Henry on from the band Art Vandelay. They've got a record release coming up right around the corner, January 22nd at the Astor Cafe. Brandon, you were born in Ann Arbor, but you kind of came of age in Norman, Oklahoma. What was the music scene like when you were growing up down there in Oklahoma?
When I was growing up, it was to me there wasn't a whole lot going on, but I also wasn't old enough to get into bars, and so I feel like there was probably this level of music that I was unaware of, but I was really hungry for that for that connection with music. I went, I'd go to a lot of like some jazz concerts and stuff around town and up in Oklahoma City. My dad is a huge jazz fan, and so he would take me to shows that came to town. And there was always a jazz festival in Norman that we would go to, and so that was a big part of my musical upbringing too, was just an appreciation and background with jazz. And but I actually just got back from Norman from the holidays, and I played a gig down there. And the music scene is totally different now. It's like,
what's it like?
It's pretty happening. There's
cool.
a music festival down there every spring that gets thousands of people into the downtown. There are way more venues than I remember even being available when I grew up. There's a good singer-songwriter community down there, rock, indie rock, the whole thing. So it's cool to kind of go back and see how the music scene has grown in the 20 plus years that I've been away. So, but the sounds definitely influenced my songwriting. There was a band called Cross Canadian Ragweed that they were, I think they were from Stillwater.
Okay.
But a good friend of mine took me to a show of theirs that was in like a bar parking lot, and they had this song called Jimmy and Annie that like just blew me away, and it kind of opened the door to me for more songwriter-based music and kind of that blend of rock and country together, and just kind of opened the doors for me. So that was a big influence on my musical direction for sure.
Well, you've got one of America's greatest, not only songwriters, but greatest Americans, Woody Guthrie from Okemah, Oklahoma. So you're kind of coming from a land of great songwriters. And when you mentioned Stillwater, Oklahoma, that's where Garth Brooks came from. And my very good friend, who's not with us anymore, the late, great Jimmy LaFave, was from Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I think they used to call that, is it red rust? There's a certain type,
Red Dirt.
Red Dirt, yeah, Red Dirt music, yeah. Jimmy was very proud of that. And so, yeah, Oklahoma, of course, just a great state. I'm glad to hear Norman, Oklahoma, your kind of hometown, when you moved there from Ann Arbor, is starting to happen. And of course, as you had mentioned when we had spoken earlier this week, the great James Garner is from Norman, Oklahoma, Rockford, and one of the greatest TV private detectives of all time. I hope they have a statue or some sort of museum for Rockford down there somewhere.
There's a street named after him. I know that.
Well, they're good.
Yeah.
So now, why did you pick St. Olaf College out of all the, and trust me, I love St. Olaf College. I played there myself. I've had friends that have taught there. I've had friends that got into school there. Why did you pick St. Olaf?
It was kind of a mix of reasons. One was initially I was interested in music, like studying music at school. And so that's kind of what got me looking into the school, because they have a really well-known, really solid music program. And they also had a really good swim team, and I swam competitively. And so I was interested in that as well. And because they're a Division III school, they don't offer scholarships, so I would be able to swim. So yeah, I got there. It just seemed like a really good fit. I did not pursue the music end of it, as it's geared more towards music education, choral music, and it was just not my jam. But
right.
campus was great. I loved the people there, and I actually had my first band there when I was a senior. I was really into Jimmy Buffett, and so I started a Jimmy Buffett cover band called the Buffett Buffet, and we played like 3 epic shows. We played our 6 covers really well, and that was kind of a bug that just stuck in me to perform and play. So yeah, and then like I said earlier, just after I graduated, I didn't really have any solid plans, so I just moved to the Twin Cities and hung out, and it started to go see live music.
Well, Northfield, too, is such a beautiful little hamlet.
Yeah.
It's just a gorgeous town. And, of course, with Carlton and St. Olaf, there's a lot of brain power down there. And actually, everybody I've talked to, Northfield's developing a cool music scene. Do you ever get a chance to go down there and play?
Oh, yeah. We played there a ton. We played a handful of times at the Contented Cow, and then for probably about maybe 5 or 6 years, we played at the Tavern Lounge down there, and that was it was just a ball playing there. That was a really cool spot, kind of a nook in the ground floor of the Archer House, which was the historic bed and breakfast that was in town. And yeah, we played there for years. Unfortunately, in 2020, it burned. There was a fire in one of the restaurants, and so that is no longer a venue. But we actually played down there at Imminent Brewing. We played down there in November, and that was our first time we played in Northfield in a couple years. And it was great to be back. It was a super fun night, and yeah, it's got a great music scene down there. And so it's nice to go back and play down.
I did a recording session in Northfield years ago with country great Sherwin Linton, who's a very good friend of mine, and there was a really cool studio down there. Had a lot of vintage gear. Do you know what I'm talking about? God, it was about 12, 15 years ago, so I don't remember it. But I thought maybe you stumbled across that studio in Northfield.
No, I wonder if it's still there.
Geez, good question. So let me ask you this, Brandon Henry, when you moved up to Minneapolis, what year was that? Did you move to Minneapolis? And what bands did you start to see when you moved up to the Twin Cities?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I moved up here permanently in, so it would have been like spring, summer of 2002. What are some of the bands that we would go see? There was a punk band I remember going to go see called Crudler at the Uptown Bar. Let's see. There was a band called Landing Gear that I really got into in, I don't know, like 2004-ish. And who else did? Romantica, when they were starting to get really big, I really got into their music. And see who else? Martin Devaney, like listening to him, and gosh, who else? Those are some of the bands I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, there was just a ton of stuff going on, and being new to the city and seeing all this just at at your fingertips was just so much fun to kind of immerse myself in all different kinds of music at all different types of venues. And so it was a lot of fun. I miss it. I'd like to get back out and doing that more often, as many people do.
Brandon Henry, now do you write these songs by yourself, or do you have your bandmates and Art Vandelay contribute and get writing credits?
I've just been writing them myself for the most part. I tend to bring the songs mostly finished to the band, and certainly helped out musically with adding their insights and their flavor to
talent,
the songs.
sure.
I have a good friend, Jasper Lepak, who's a local singer-songwriter. She and I have exchanged songs over the years just to get feedback from each other, just to help each other out with songwriting. And so the song "Never See You Again" is a song that I brought to her, and it was mostly finished, but it was kind of at that point where like there's just like something missing, but you've been so close to it that I couldn't figure out what needed to be done with
Right.
it. And so I brought it to her, and she had some really good suggestions, and then she had a suggestion on the chorus that to me just like made the song. And so it was just the hook of the chorus. And so she got a co-writing credit for that song. And it's fun. It's fun to collaborate with other songwriters, and that's kind of something I'd like to get more into in the new year. That's kind of one of my goals for the year, is to work with more songwriters and start to write songs again. So.
That's a great resolution. We've got Brandon Henry from Art Vandelay. They're doing a CD release party for their record Champagne and Chandeliers on January 22nd at the Astor Cafe. So let's listen to a song off that disc called "Never See You Again" by Brandon on to one more set with the Wall of Power.
Some people go to Nashville and others get burned. It's a roll of rough luck and hard lessons learned. You can stare into the bright lights and keep it cool, but are you hanging on, burning out, playing everybody for a fool? If I never see you again, if I never see you again, if I never see you again, had to be too soon. Drunk drivers survive, cheaters will always win. They're here and gone, they got no idea of the damage that they did. Well, you sold us all your snake oil, was a cheap charade, left us standing next to the emperor, naked in the shade. If I never see you again, if I never see you. Delilah says to Angel, there's three of us at the wheel. Me, you, and your death wish. It's a love triangle. It's a dangerous deal. Me, you, and your death wish. It's been a hard road to travel. Sad memories to lose. Can we go out in the desert where he can't find us? He likes to amble at midnight. Ghost town in
Welcome
the
back to the Wall of Power Radio.
I can hear
Last set. This is your host,
his
Paul
crunching
Metzer.
in
I
the
guess
gravel
Brandon Henry
behind
from Art
us.
Vandelay. We just heard a song off the new record, Champagne and Chandeliers, called Angel and Delilah. Where did that song come from, Brandon?
The song was written by Eliza Gilkison, and it's just a song that I've enjoyed of hers over the years, and it's been part of our live set for, I don't know, probably about 5 to 8 years. And yeah, it's just a fun song to play, and so we decided to throw it on the record, and yeah, it's
Cool.
I'm not exactly sure what it's about. I sent it to her because I used to work at Red House Records, so I had a connection with her, and
Sure.
I asked her if she would give, share the song, and when she shared it, she said it was a song about a dysfunctional relationship, which I thought was great. Just the imagery that she paints in that song is phenomenal, and which is what I love about her songwriting. And it kind of has like a rockin' edge to it to me, so I really enjoy. It's just a fun song for us to play. So
You know, it's
that's why I
funny.
threw it on the record.
If there was no such things as dysfunctional relationships, half the songs we know and love wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
So, you also had an interesting time. You studied at McNally Smith School of Music in St. Paul.
Yeah, so I was there like 2004 to 2005, and I went there for audio production, and kind of learned that I was starting right before that. I was starting to get to learn the ins and outs of recording. I bought like a 4-track Tascam, like most people do who get into recording,
Sure.
and played around with that for a year or so, and I had a friend at that time who was going there, and he suggested it, so I looked into it and went there from 2004 to 2005, and learned how to work in Pro Tools and do the boards and mic and all that stuff, and made some friends out of it too, which I think is maybe the more important part out of the whole thing. And that's how I met Ben Cookfeltz, who plays in Art Vandalay, and he's also an excellent singer-songwriter on his own. He has his own band and plays out. And so, it was just a good place that I made some good friends and good connections that have lasted, through the duration of Art Vandalay for sure.
Well, and you studied with the great recording engineer who I had the pleasure of working with way back when, a guy named Chopper Black.
Yes, I worked with him for at least one class, and definitely learned a lot from him. So it was
Well, that although that place eventually kind of went up in flames under really kind of mysterious circumstances. When I say flames, I'm not saying real flames, but just that whole thing kind of crumbled. But I did a few seminars and things over there. Did a little recording as well, and boy, the staff was great. It was some of the best musicians and sound engineers in the Twin Cities. Used to be instructors there.
Yeah, the school had a really good vibe to it, and had really good. They had a lot of good experience, and it was too bad that it all kind of came crumbling down and left a lot of people in a lurch. But
unfortunately,
hopefully everyone's kind of found their path in some way or another.
Now, when did you work with Red House Records, and what did you do there?
So I was there from 2006 until the end in 2017, and
Okay.
I started out assisting in publicity with Ellen Stanley, and then I moved into a digital role that had been created as things kind of started to move more in that direction, and I did a lot of digital marketing and just working with our digital distributors and iTunes and all that stuff. And so, it got into some design work as well, with ads and posters and some stuff like that. And so, a whole gamut of things. And it was a blast, but it had a really big impact on my songwriting, just being exposed to that level of songwriter every day. Like every day,
Yeah.
I was listening to amazing songwriters, whether they were on Red House or not. It was just being exposed to that every day. Like, you just learn how to structure a song and how to, like, you know, create a great song. And so it certainly had a huge impact on my music career as well. And you just learn how to market an album too, which is something that is hard to learn. So it was best of both worlds.
Well, we all bow down to Greg Brown, who's, you know, went to the Red House, wouldn't be around if it wasn't for the artistry of Greg Brown. And boy, if we could all write a song as good as something,
I know,
we'd be in good hands. So tell us. So what do you do now? How do you? Do you have a day gig? I mean, there's really no paying gigs out there where you can really afford to make a living being a professional musician these days. So what do you do to pay the rent and or the mortgage?
Yeah, so I work at the U of M at the Carlson School of Management, and I do project management there, and I work with a lot of print marketing. So a lot of skills from, you know, working on different projects at Red House, you know, looking at details and all that stuff, translating into more marketing materials, albeit a different world, but there are a lot of things that kind of translate. So that's what I do during the day, and then you know, music stuff in my free time when I at night and on weekends and stuff. So
how can people track down your new record, Champagne and Chandeliers?
So the new album is available wherever you get your digital music, but you can go to artvandelaytunes.com, and it's a direct link to our. You'll find our Bandcamp page that you can order physical CDs from there, and I'll send one, or you can download. So that's the best place to go, is artvandelaytunes.com to get our music.
Brandon, this has been a great conversation. I want to wish you the best with
Thank you, Paul.
With your CD release on January 22nd. Also, all the best for 2022. Tell us about this last song we're going to hear tonight, called Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, so Eye of the Beholder is a song that I wrote about performing in front of people, and that, sometimes you're playing a gig and maybe there's one or two people in the audience, or maybe there are 200, but you never know who is in the audience and how your song might impact them. And so just knowing that your song might have an effect on somebody, hopefully a positive effect on somebody, whether you know it or not. So to kind of always put your best foot forward when you're out performing, and just to kind of have faith in your songs, that there's a person out there who might connect with it. So that's what Eye of the Beholder is about.
That's a great piece of advice to end this first show 2022 on the Wall of Power Radio Hour. And for anybody out there, put your best foot forward, says Brandon Henry from Art Vandelay. Brandon, this has been great. I look forward to meeting you in person. We love Ellen Stanley. She works with the best people in town. She's a great musician herself. So have a great time on the 22nd at the Astor Cafe. And for those of you out there that would like to go see Art Vandelay, just go to astorcafe.com and reserve some tickets. Happy New Year, Brandon, and good luck with
Happy New Year, Paul.
The band and the record.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
She sings every Saturday in a New England pub. The crowd just doesn't care. Then she plays backup, pictures of beer. She sings of love and despair. Under these lights in a blue jeans and boots, sings in cliches, disguises true. Boys at the bar go blind for drinks. So whiskey, it burns like roses and thorns, but she's saving their souls. Some of these songs, they don't mean a thing. Some they mean everything. They can save a life, get a man to dance with his wife. Soul in the eye, beholder. Guitar she plays, it scratches and worn. Case, it smells like miles she's torn. Strings ring out like gold to a man beyond the lights who swears she's singing only to him. Some of these songs, they don't mean a thing. Some they mean everything. They save a life, get a man, dance with his wife. Soul in the eye, beholder.
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza, engineered by the great Patrick Lilia in the basement of AM 950 Studios in Eden Prairie, which is neither Eden nor a prairie. I've got a book coming out in about a month called Alphabet Jazz, Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Songs. It's going to have a 14-song free digital download. I will keep you posted on that. But follow me at paulmetza.com for more information on the book and other things I'm up to. Once again, Happy New Year to everybody out there in AM 950 Radio Land. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.